Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Kim with Kim's Inspired Life. And welcome to #BookTube Thursday, an open collab hosted by our two sweet friends, Patty at Life with Patty and Daphne at My Mountain Home and Kitchen. And I read all the time. You probably heard me say this before on my channel as well, but I don't always have time to do a video. So I actually have a stack of books here, and some that I've listened to as audiobooks and that I can share with you as well. But today, for today's video, I'm just going to be sharing some young adult books that I've read. There's 3 of them, and if you've been on Patty's channel, one of our hostesses, then you've heard her talk about some young adult books that she's read as well. And I'm going to share the 3 books that I have to share with you today. I took some notes and I wanted to share a few things about why we as adults would possibly want to, or maybe why we read young adult fiction. So for one, young adult books are they're entertaining, right? Because in order to pull children that are anywhere, grade school age, junior high is what I'm kind of talking about, into high school, we need some sort of a good plot and some good characters, right? Because they're being pulled away from all kinds of other things, video games and sports and friends and all of that. So authors know that. Authors know that they need to catch kids right away and jump right into the story and get right into what they're talking about and what the story's about. So, so young adult books are just simply entertaining for the most part. And young adult books are usually well written because we are not that they're simply written or they're trying to dumb them down, dumb the subject down, but they're well written in the fact that we know right away who is the protagonist and who is the antagonist, and we understand, what the setting is and almost kind of where we're going and where we're headed. Whereas, I don't know if this is the same thing for you, but sometimes it's the 2nd or 3rd chapter and I'm kind of wondering, okay, what is the author trying to tell me here when I'm reading just a regular adult piece of fiction? Okay, and so one of the other reasons why adults like to read young adult books, I think, is that a lot of books, especially, well, I think all 3 of the books that I'm going to share today, they deal with some serious issues, but they deal with them in more of a hopeful way because, right, we want to end the story on a high note usually when we're when authors are writing for young adults or for younger readers, right? And so they still deal with a lot, like the books that I'm going to share today. There's still divorce and drug abuse and maybe some mental health issues and some other serious topics, but they're usually young adult authors are dealing with those topics in a way that is more hopeful, if that's the word, when they're writing for young adults. Young adult authors know that have already, been there, done that, been children before. And they understand that, at this age when children are younger, they're just still trying to figure things out. They're writing about teenagers trying to find their place in the world, or, dealing with friendships or bullying or being lonely. And so we've been there, we've done that. And so we remember, it kind of brings us back to when we were that age. And so we can relate to that and we can understand that. And so we tend to enjoy reading about stories that have that kind of storyline. 2 more things. Young adult stories are good enough to be made into movies. Think about The Hunger Games. I haven't read the whole Hunger Games series. I think I just read the first one, but now there's how many Hunger Games movies? So, and the list goes on. Maze Runner, other books as well that were written and have a good enough plot that adults are going to like them, and they've become blockbuster movies. Okay, if you go to Barnes & Noble, for the most part, young adult books you're going to find are cheaper than adult fiction. And so unless you're getting them at a thrift store, at a yard sale, or your friends are giving them to you off their bookshelf, then you're going to find that young adult books are cheaper. So, all right, so those are some reasons that I can think of and that I wanted to share for enjoying young adult fiction. So if you haven't read any young adult fiction recently or listened to it as an audiobook, then I invite you to do that. Okay, so the 3 books that I'm going to share with you today, the first one I'm going to share with you is Blue Willow, and I have the physical book for this because this is my favorite book. I read this book in 4th grade, and guys, I can't tell you the number of times that I have read this in my lifetime. This is a Newbery Honor book. It was written by Doris Gates, and I wrote down some notes that I wanted to share so I wouldn't forget anything. So it is fiction. It's about a girl named Janie. This isn't the original cover. The original cover is yellow, and it actually has a picture of this blue willow plate on it. And so Janie is 10 years old, and Dad is a migrant worker, so they're moving around a lot. And in the story, Janie lives in the San Joaquin Valley. That's where I live, and didn't live here when I was growing up. However, I could relate to what Janie was going through because I did grow up here in California in an agricultural valley, and a lot of my family members, my uncles, my grandparents, did work in the fields picking crops, picking broccoli, picking cauliflower, picking lettuce, and we didn't move around a lot, but in this book, Janie does. This book takes place in the late 1930s. Everyone's just kind of still getting over the Great Depression. America still is suffering, so she's growing up poor, and this blue willow once belonged to her great-great-grandmother, and so it's her prized possession, and Janie lives with her father and her stepmother because her mother has died, and she's an only child, and in one of the moves she meets Lupe Romero, who is another migrant family that lives across the field from them, and so their relationship and their friendship and the family's friendship with one another changes their lives, and you know, there's some antagonists in the story, and there's some things that happen that you're just thinking, why but Janie's a sweet girl and we like her. So if you haven't read Blue Willow, it's only 72 pages, so it's a book that you could read real quick, and I think that you would like it. So all right, so there's the first one. Second book I'm going to share today is called Stella Díaz Has Something to Say by Angela Dominguez, and I borrowed this book on the Libby app from our library. I saw the title of this book, looking for books by Hispanic female authors, and this book is written by Angela Dominguez, and she was born in Mexico City and currently lives in, I think, Texas, I believe. This book, Stella Díaz Has Something to Say, is the first in a book of 5. There's a series of 5. Dominguez says that this book is loosely based on her childhood because in the story, Stella also was born in Mexico City, but then she is actually living with her brother and with her mother in Chicago. So Stella's mom and dad are divorced, so divorce is talked about in this book, as well as bullying, good friendships and bad friendships, immigrant and what an immigrant is, because Stella realizes, because people are calling her an alien and an immigrant at school, and she doesn't know what that means, and so she comes home and she talks to her mom about that. I really didn't care for this book, honestly. I listened to it. It wasn't, you know, I think it was 3 hours to listen to it on Libby. I guess I thought the author was trying too hard to include the Spanish language into the book, and so she included some words, some Spanish words, and then she would explain what they were. But it was just kind of so repetitive that I guess it kind of just annoyed me a little bit. So I'm not sure yet if I'm going to read another book in this series. I was hoping to really like it because Stella is in 3rd grade and my granddaughter Zoe is in 3rd grade, and so I thought that would be good. Maybe this was going to be a book that I could, you know, buy the series for her or for her classroom. But since the book does deal with divorce, and it it is talked about quite a bit. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's a book that I really want to share with her at this time. So, okay, so that's Stella Díaz Has Something to Say. Maybe that's a book that you may want to add to your list, TBR list. And the last book I'm going to share today is called Hey, Kiddo. It's by Jarrett Krosoczka. It is a memoir of his life, so it's based on his childhood as well. Here is something that I want to tell you about this book, that it is on the banned book list. So this book is written for junior high students, and when Jarrett, and he's called Jarrett in the story because it's about him, about 14 or 15 years old, and then the book follows him till he's about out of college, or finishing up college or so in his early 20s. So Jarrett, again, this is an autobiographical book. Jarrett was raised by his grandparents, his mother's mom and dad, and because his mother is in and out of prison and she's addicted to drugs, and his father basically has left them, and he shows up when Jarrett's about, I think, 19, and says, hey, I'm your father and let's spend some time together. And against his grandparents' wishes, he goes and he sneaks and he does meet his father, because of course he's interested in who he is. And he ends up, at the end, there's some author's notes, and it does talk about how he and his father end up having a relationship, and Jarrett does have brothers and sisters, and he does have a relationship with them as well. But this book is hard because it deals, again, with addiction, with divorce, with drug and alcohol abuse. The one good thing about this book is that in all of this craziness, Jarrett turns to art, and he ends up going to art school. His grandparents scrounge up enough money for him to go to art school, and so he says that art is how he survived, because he was able to go to, his paintings and his drawings and he into his creative self. And so there is a lot of explicit language in this book, and if I wasn't so interested in finishing the book and it wasn't a good storyline, I probably wouldn't finished it, because yes, every F-bomb, S-bomb, as my grandchildren say, well, they say S-word, the S-word. So all of those words are included, and so I wouldn't really recommend this, and I can book to anybody, and I can see why it was banned. However, it is truly a young adult book. I mean, it deals with all those topics, and but the good part about it is Jarrett survives his childhood. His relationship with his grandparents is positive. To this day, at the time of this writing, he says that he still didn't have really a relationship with his mother. She never went to his college graduation, and so some other characters, some other family members are woven in inside the book as well. All right, so 3 books that I'm going to share with you. You decide if you're going to read them or not. However, this is the only one that I really highly recommend. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have about 4 or 5 other books to share with you that I will be sharing in an upcoming video. What am I reading now? Let's see. I'm looking at a couple of books over there on the bookshelf, because I just finished a couple days ago a book, and I've just been reading my Magnolia magazines. So I had to catch up on reading a couple of my Magnolia magazines. So when I'm finished with that, I am going to be starting one of those books over there on the shelf. So thank you guys for stopping by to see what I'm reading. Let me know what you are reading. Thank you to Patty and Daphne for hosting Thursday BookTube, and I will talk to you guys again soon.